The following is a presentation of the Pro Wrestling Report. Informative, entertaining, and real since 1998.
Mr. Perfect.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the extended version of the Pro Wrestling Report here at PWRShow.com. It's 5 more minutes.
Sponsored
Nelson
by
sitting
King Kong
alongside
Bundy.
David Hero. And we talked about it on prime time this week. Big shakeup in TNA Wrestling.
You know,
Vince Russo is gone, ladies and gentlemen. Finally publicly announced on Tuesday by Dixie Carter via Twitter.
He got fired through Twitter.
It was, come on now, he was fired on Sunday.
Happy Valentine's Day, Vince Russo.
Here's what we know. The reports came out on Sunday indicating Vince Russo had been fired. There had been a creative shakeup. Yes, it did happen on Sunday, but there were so many wrong reports out there saying Vince Russo wasn't there. We know for a fact Vince Russo was there. For a time.
For a minute.
And that was the first time the TNA group had come together since being over in the UK. So he probably showed up and got sent to serve his papers and left. Didn't have any impact on the show that night, but what it did have an impact on was the news that would be released Tuesday by TNA President Dixie Carter. She would say this, and I quote, TNA and Vince Russo have mutually parted ways as of this week. The separation is amicable and professional. We are glad for the opportunity to have worked together and wish each other nothing but good luck and success in the future. Let's break down that statement. David Hero from TNA President Dixie Carter, who had been a loyalist to Vince Russo, who had been with the company for a number of years, minus a couple of breaks.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is that now that Jeff Jarrett's really gone, he's over in India with you. What did you call that?
Ring King Ka.
Oh, he said Kung Pao. But
Chicken?
Yes.
That wouldn't be in India.
Jeff Jarrett's gone. Vince Russo was the last piece. Bruce Pritchard comes in and wants his own regime.
I love you. Bruce Pritchard and Vince Russo worked together in WWE, though.
Right, but Bruce Pritchard wants his own thumbprint on this company. He wants to get rid of whatever else was there ahead of time.
The stink?
And yeah, he's trying to wash the, what do they call it? Wash the stink away, I guess.
Well, I think it'll remain unwashed.
You know, TNA has done everything. I mean, they've brought in Mick Foley, they brought in Kurt Angle, they brought in Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff. They tried to recreate the NWO with the Main Event Mafia. They split up beer money. They made new world champions, new tag team champions. They've changed the ring. They've gone on the road. But the one thing was always the same. It was the same mindset creatively. And when we did our special report, what was that, 8 months ago?
A couple of months ago, yeah.
What did we say? They've done everything but change creative. And now they bring in Dave Lagana, who is a very creative guy. Is he the answer? We'll have to find out.
Time will tell.
You know, but it's going to be interesting. I mean, can TNA afford to do another reset? They can't. So they're going to have to merge some of these storylines together and then go out in different directions. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with guys like AJ Styles and Daniels and Frankie Kazarian, Fortune, who was a top babyface group a year ago. Now they're kind of stuck lower mid-card. Mm-hmm. And those are the guys that the fans have gravitated towards.
No, those are the
AJ
fans,
Styles?
the Twitter fans and the internet fans have
TNA
gravitated
fans
towards. Those
like
aren't
AJ Styles.
They do. They do. I'm not sure if they still do, but as Hulk Hogan said recently, the unfortunate reality, and this is not a knock on any of those talents, TNA never grew when focusing on those talents. Arguably, they haven't grown much more since focusing on other talents,
like
but they have.
Bischoff.
But they have.
But look where they've
How'd
gone.
you feel about that on Impact this past Thursday? That was the ending of the program. There was a whole Garrett Bischoff celebration.
Where's Ken Anderson? Okay. Where is
Ken?
Stuff with
I thought he was the one that dropped this gimmick for you.
Well, he's been on vacation. But I'm saying is there's certain guys, where's Rob Van Dam? Not saying he's an answer, but I'm just saying there's star power there, and instead they're giving that star power to Garrett Bischoff. What does that how does that affect the locker room morale, where the guys in the back are now taking a back seat to a kid that's never really done anything in the business? I mean, it's one thing if he looks like Bill Goldberg and he comes in and kills people, but he looks like a college sophomore, okay? It's kind of hard to believe that he can beat anybody up.
College sophomore?
Well, I'm not going to say high school.
Oh, his sideburns.
Wow. That's why I said college. He hit puberty.
Do you know this?
I'm just going off your notes.
It's the most dangerous structure ever created.
32,000 pounds.
16 tons of steel. It's the kind of match that changes your life.
Now, for the first time ever, it's coming to Milwaukee, the WWE Elimination Chamber.
The pain is horrific.
Savage. Career ender.
6 men enter.
No one leaves the same.
WWE Elimination Chamber, live in Milwaukee. Tickets on sale now.
We're going to talk more about
5 more minutes.
We're going to talk more about Vince Russo's history in the business, because that's important. It's very important. And as we now enter overtime here on 5 more minutes, Vince Russo started with, let's work backwards, started with TNA in 2002.
Yes.
When the company was founded. The company had come in and was supposed to be an alternative, as, they weren't going to focus on the smut, if you will, that was being put out by the other wrestling organizations. And they had the dancing girls in the cages and everything.
It was the same smut and everything else as the Attitude Era. You had Tracy Brooks dancing in a cage.
But they said that they were going to be more family-oriented when Vince Russo brought him. Remember, he got born again and all that stuff.
Yeah, he found God.
He was lost.
Yeah,
he then left the company, though, in 2004, but then returning 2 years later as one of the head writers in TNA. So ultimately, minus that couple of years stint, Vince Russo's been with TNA Wrestling. But his story getting there is a lot more interesting, because starting in World Wrestling Entertainment back in the 90s, he was a big part of the Attitude Era.
But he first started out as the editor of their magazine.
Bite This.
Yes.
No, not Bite This.
It was Bite This. Vic Venom.
Vic Venom, yes.
Vic Venom,
yeah.
yes. And you know what? Vince Russo had some...
Which was great on Livewire, by the way. Sorry to interrupt, but he would make appearances on Livewire or Superstars or whatever it was on Saturday or Sunday mornings. It was always great. It's like, oh, this guy's giving us dirt. He's giving us inside stuff from the magazine, which we all had subscriptions to, I'm sure.
I didn't. But anyways, Vince Russo, a lot of great ideas. Yes, he was very influential in the Attitude Era with Sable and The Rock and The Nation and all the shenanigans and funny ha-ha stuff that was going on. But what made Vince Russo successful is, yes, he had all these great ideas, but he had to run them past Pat Patterson, Vince McMahon, Briscoe. He had filters. Mm-hmm. When he left and went to WCW and then eventually TNA, he had no filters. He had no one to bring those ideas in and make them tighter, make them better, and have them make sense.
No collaboration. No. And it was funny because, remember, it was an abrupt departure by both him and Ed Ferreira from WWE to WCW, which many said was potentially going to be the end of WWE because of the credit that was being given Vince Russo. WWE never really skipped a beat. As a matter of fact, it would be just a couple of years later that WCW would be out of business. And you have things that happened in WCW, such as the concept of the thought that Vince Russo once had of making Tank Abbott the WCW World Champion. Never came to fruition because he got fired before that. But those were the kinds of things that weren't getting filtered.
Sense because he was a UFC fighter.
He couldn't wrestle with a lick.
Tough.
Okay.
David Arquette couldn't wrestle with a lick either. He was
Vince Russo is also a former WCW World Champion, isn't he?
Well, but so was Vince McMahon.
He was a World Wrestling Entertainment Champion.
Yes.
It's his company. That makes a little more sense.
Sure. Why are you getting all defensive?
I'm not getting defensive.
We're talking. It's, we're not debating. Mike Wickett's not here. I did win last week, by the way.
Here's all I want to do. Your teams completely suck. You got 20 points at against all odds. I got 10 points at against all odds. There's a 30-point spread.
That is not on the run sheet.
No, it is not on the run sheet. I'm glad you're actually paying attention to it at this particular point of the program.
Well, I'm still on page 1, but I'm just saying it's not on here.
Bischoff came back, along with Vince Russo, to WCW just a few months before. Remember the new breed or the new era or whatever? Everybody's in the ring.
Against the Millionaires Club.
Yeah, and that lasted not very long. Well, it was actually
Billy
a concussion.
Kidman versus Hulk Hogan. I mean, come on.
A concussion suffered at the hands of Goldberg by Vince Russo would have ultimately put him on the sidelines until WWE would purchase the company. So that last 6 months, Vince Russo not part of WCW.
Wait, so Goldberg knocked out Vince Russo and ended the career of Bret Hart.
He did.
The most dangerous man in wrestling.
No, that's Ken Shamrock.
Amazing. But I don't feel bad for Vince Russo. He's made lots of money. He's had a great run. The
one question we've asked on this program many a time before is, does or did Vince Russo get a bad rap? Because you've seen the signs. Russo sucked. who booked this, fire Russo. Everything gets blamed on Russo for the storylines that a fan may not agree with or may not be logical, or some of the false finishes that we saw that were rampant through TNA for a long time.
When a pro sports team starts to go in the tank, they want to fire the head coach. They want to bench the quarterback. You know what I'm saying? That just comes with it. Either you take all the glory or you take all the blame.
Power and glory?
Absolutely. That was a great tag team.
Dave Lagana, we've had him on this program. We've talked to him many times. Obviously, the man who created the hashtag I Want Wrestling.
Well, I created the hashtag.
Did many podcasts with several former writers and former influential people in WWE. He spent 6 years with that company. He was involved in several very prominent storylines in World Wrestling Entertainment. Knowing what we know about Dave Lagana, the point you made earlier is it seems as if the focus may indeed be on those younger stars, such as the AJ Styles, who aren't really even young, by the way. I mean, the TNA originals, I guess you can more say. But also, as you talked about the influence that Vince Russo had and the filtering in WWE, that same filtering now going through Bischoff and Bruce Pritchard in TNA. What impact do you think this will have? Will it be seamless to the audience, or will there be immediate noticeable differences in TNA programming?
You know what? Here's my question. Is Bischoff and Pritchard going to respect Dave Lagana? Do they look at him as being an equal, as much they kind of did with Vince Russo because of, his time in the business? Mm-hmm. Or are they going to look at Lagana as the guy that came over from Ring of Honor? The guy that's not, he hasn't cut, he's only.
Bischoff probably will.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So is he?
I'm not sure about Pritchard, but Bischoff.
Are they going to respect his ideas? Are they going to say, okay, Dave, here you go, give us 6 months of TV, let's see how it's going to pan out? Dave Lagana's in a tough spot because TNA Wrestling has not been very profitable. He has to turn a company around on his own, and he's going up against two pretty stubborn guys in Bruce Pritchard and Eric Bischoff.
The very interesting piece or dynamic of this whole story is the rise of power of Eric Bischoff in that company. He's the executive producer right now. He's the one who reports to Spike TV, and he's basically in charge of that company.
Well, Bruce Pritchard's in charge of the operations. But I think on the network TV side, it's Eric Bischoff.
Which ultimately puts Bischoff in charge, at least from my standpoint. Bischoff is running a wrestling company practically again.
But you know what? But he knows how to. He has surrounded himself with the right people.
He's doing the part he knows.
Exactly.
Because when he gets involved with creative, when he gets involved with talents,
he's involved in creative because his kid's in one of the top stories.
But I mean, when he has a prominent role in it, which arguably he does now. What I'm saying is. Well, actually, what I'm saying is, the more I think about this, the more it looks like WCW. You got big money contracts with probably guarantees.
Well,
you got talent who's not under control.
The guaranteed contracts are guaranteed by Panda Energy.
Correct, but you got to imagine that both Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan had some influence in the signing of those contracts, and we know that there are people in that company making, on one appearance, what some of the people are making annually.
What half the pay-per-view roster makes in one night.
Yeah.
Combined.
Man, I'm not wishing ill will on TNA or saying it is WCW, but that moment did literally just hit me. It's Atlanta, Georgia.
Well, Nashville's pretty close to Atlanta.
It's WCW. What ultimately put WCW down was its loss of revenues, the sale of Time Warner to AOL, the cancellation of the broadcasting on the networks, and let's not dismiss the white elephant that is in this room. The Spike TV deal ends in October.
Yes.
Without that, there's no TNA.
You know what? I'm pretty sure that it'll get renewed.
I don't see why they wouldn't. It provides good programming. It provides solid ratings. I'm sure it's relatively inexpensive programming, but Spike has indicated that they're taking a slight shift in their programming, even though the president of Spike TV threw a party for the TNA group this past week for them, so that shows definitely some support there. But there's a lot of flux in addition to this shakeup creatively in TNA right now that could have some negative ramifications on the company down the road.
They need to get everyone on the same page. They got to pull the locker room together and say, hey, listen, we're starting over fresh. We're going to finish out these storylines, but get some of these guys in the locker room are actually very creative, have some good ideas. Take some of them, blend them together with what Lagana and Bischoff and Pritchard may have. Oh, it's just amazing. I mean, this can go really, really good, or it's going to go in the tank quick. And right now, I hate to say it, it's on Lagana. Because, he has to be the creative guru right now. He has to be the guy that can put this stuff together and get everyone on the same page. He has to be good cop and bad cop at the same time.
Hunter and McCall?
Absolutely.
Well, an interesting story, and we'll continue to cover it as it plays out over the course of the next few weeks here on the Pro Wrestling Report. But I want to let you know and remind you about a big announcement made this past Monday night on Monday Night Meltdown. David Hero, Al Snow was our guest. But we also shared with the world the details on the biggest party coming to Miami as part of WrestleMania weekend. It is the Shenanigans Beach Party, ladies and gentlemen. Shenanigans Beach Party. It's going to be occurring Friday night, March 30th, starting at 7 p.m. VIP tickets available right now, $99 each, which gets you in an hour earlier before everyone else. And then
and greets,
general admission,
pictures,
$15 in advance, $20 at the door.
Linda Kay if you'd like.
At one of the hottest clubs in Miami on South Beach, Ocean's 10. This place is amazing. There's going to be live bands, DJs, all kinds of partying and shenanigans going on all night long. And let's not forget our guests. Ladies and gentlemen, the headliner, the main event, Kevin Nash, will be at Ocean's 10 as part of Shenanigans Beach Party on Friday night, March 30th. In addition to that, Shane Helms, XPAC, Robbie E., the TNA World Television Champion.
Billy Gunn, the Headbangers, Maria, and more to be announced in the next couple weeks.
All the details on that right now at pwrshow.com, pwrshow.com, where you can purchase your tickets. And VIP tickets, let's not say you were never warned. VIP tickets are flying out the window.
Limited edition.
And we're doing that to make sure you have an exclusive experience. And everyone who purchased Sweet and Sexy ticket packages for WrestleMania is going to be able to participate in the Shenanigans Beach Party as well. We did the party at Stats last year. We had some guests there, including Winter from TNA Wrestling. And this is a whole different ball game. On South Beach,
big, it's
in Miami.
Sexy, it's shenanigans, it's hurricanes, it's Mr. Asses and Xbox and headbangers and
moshing and thrashing.
I'm gonna call Kev now.
All the details at pwrshow.com. I want to also remind you that you can check out Be the Booker for WWE Elimination Chamber, which went out yesterday. And tomorrow we'll be live from WWE Elimination Chamber at the Bradley Center with the post-show and updates throughout the day, by the way, right here on pwrshow.com. So be sure to check all that out, all of our coverage of the Elimination Chamber. And then, David Hero, there's nothing between us and WrestleMania after Sunday's Elimination Chamber pay-per-view.
The road to WrestleMania. We're flying to Miami, but it is going to be nonstop excitement.
I thought you didn't get that memo?
Oh, I'm flying to Miami.
No, dude, you got to drive the equipment truck. Andy can't drive alone. There was that incident. You got to leave on Monday. You'll be there by Thursday. We got to get all the cameras and all the gear and all the shenanigans stuff down there. You got to. I mean, that's in your name.
Really?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I mean,
do I get the Amex?
No, because, Andy will have it, but he knows better than to give it to you.
I know how to work Andy.
I mean, you don't get sick on the road, do you?
No,
I mean,
I'll be fine.
We'll make sure there's little bags in the truck. I'll be flying first class on Delta down.
On Air Force One. Of course he will be.
Come on. He's busy that weekend. He's not going to let me borrow it again. Thanks for tuning in to 5 more minutes, ladies and gentlemen, for that one. This is Damian Nelson saying thank you so much for sticking around. You never hit it.